really wasn't planning on doing any food preservation work tonight. It is already late and I do have to work tomorrow, but very disappointingly, when I came home from work today, I realized that my tomatoes had started to turn. I had bought a box of tomatoes for canning from my local farmer's market in anticipation of having all of the time and energy to do canning projects, which of course, as you know, in life, things don't work out the way you plan. But I told myself, not a big deal. I can just set them out on the counter. They'll be fine at room temperature for a while. And if I can't get to them, I'll just throw them in the freezer and do it later. And then I'll be just fine. And here we are, more than a week from the day that I bought them. I did not freeze them, which I'm now regretting because some of my tomatoes have started to develop bad spots, mold, go bad, and I honestly don't know how much of this box is even salvageable at this point. So I think the only thing that I can do is to go through all of the tomatoes, process them tonight. I don't have time to fully cook them down into the marinara recipe that I was going to can, but I think that if I just put them in my Instant Pot on the slow cooker setting overnight, I can just take all of that cooked down tomato, put it in the fridge until I'm able to run it through the food mill and properly make sauce from it. It's gonna be really hard to get this project done in any sort of a time scale that will allow me to still be able to save and preserve this food. And I really, really don't want to waste it. I mean, getting organic tomatoes from a local farmer's market is such a blessing, and it is not a cheap thing to be able to buy. And I did buy them because my own tomato crop was failing because of all the pest pressure in my garden. And this was really my last ditch effort to be able to reserve up some food for the end of the year. And I really don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste it. I want it to go well. So we're going to see what we can manage to do tonight. At least go through the box and make sure that I get all the bad ones out and rescue whatever good ones are still in there and get them cooking down. And then hopefully tomorrow or the next day or the weekend, I will have enough time and energy to be able to properly finish the recipe in the way that I intended. This is obviously a huge disappointment and a setback. And, I can only blame myself. I knew that if I wasn't going to process the tomatoes immediately, I needed to freeze them. And I didn't put them in the freezer that same day when I realized I was not going to be able to can the day that I bought them. I can only blame myself. But what we're going to do from here is see what we can do to salvage this project. Let us see. Alright, I'm putting just a little bit of water in the bottom of my Instant Pot. I'm going to set it to slow cook. And get a bowl where we can put the discard bits. And we'll get to work. Here I am cutting the tomatoes in half and taking out the core, putting that in my discard bowl, as well as if I find any bad spots or soft spots, I'm cutting those off. I'm getting rid of those and putting all of the good parts of the tomato into my Instant Pot to start to cook down into our sauce. Gone through like 2/3 of the box, and my Instant Pot is nearly full, so I don't know how many more tomatoes I can stack in there, but I was able to find some that look perfect, that have no blemishes at all. So I think what I'm going to do is, for all the ones that don't have blemishes, that don't need to be cooked up immediately, I'm going to just pop those in a freezer bag, and then this one's not probably the best, and I'm going to try and process these at a later date. So I'll check back in a second when I see how the rest of this project comes together. Very gross. Okay, last two at the bottom are very, very gross, and I will spare you the details about Alright, these are all the ones that I think are salvageable. I've got one pot full right there. All of these ones have like a minor blemish or like a soft spot, and I feel like I can cut that out and use the rest of it, but I wouldn't try and save them long term. And these ones appear to be pretty good. Just going to give them a good wash, bag them up, and freeze them to process at a later date. So I filled up one of these stasher bags, which I love, and one of these supposedly compostable bioplastic bags, because it's what I had. And I'm gonna pop these in here. And hopefully that'll be a project for another day. Now to finish up the ones that need processed right now.
My headspace been weaker, it's been waiting for the right day. Like the right day ever comes, now it's Friday and nothing's changed. Mistakes that everyone is making, but I can't change. I'm stuck in reverse like an old Benz. Forgot to tap.
Okay. It is the next morning, and my tomatoes have cooked down. They are now sauce. Well, roughly, not really sauce, but they are cooked tomatoes. And I have this food mill that I got from Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to see if I can quickly strain some off and put the juice in a container in the fridge to process later. I thought better of it. I'm not going to try and attempt to food mill my cooked tomatoes right now. This is going to be a later tonight project. So, see you then.
feel like it's too late. Wait another year and it's too late. But that's not true. It's not strange to quit another job cause it was draining. To try a different road though it's been fading in your mind cause of time.
Part of my desire for home canning is in part of an entire ethos or movement or ideal that I have around decreasing my consumerism. So one of the catchy phrases that I like to tell myself is, don't buy it, DIY it, or that, shopping local is better. So all these things in isolation is like, oh yeah, it's nice to grow your own tomatoes and to try and can them into tomato sauce. But really what I'm trying to do here is build skills and build resilience. This is one of the things that people in generations before me would have grown up knowing how to do. And people in my generation, millennial and those after, their food basically only comes to them delivered by a stranger in an app or from a box in the frozen section. People don't know how to make things from scratch. People don't know where their food comes from. And that's one of the major things that I really wanted to change in this phase of my life, was to, instead of just mindlessly buy things all the time, I wanted to reconnect with myself, my ancestors, my roots, but also my local community. I wanted to try and grow my own tomatoes, but if I couldn't grow all of them myself, I wanted to buy them from a local farmer. And I wanted to can them myself, because even if it's not cheaper or easier than just going to your local grocery store to buy some tomato sauce, think of all of the relationships with friends and neighbors and family. Think of all of the positive skills that I'm building in myself: determination, resilience, know-how, not even to mention the actual skill of just knowing how to can and preserve my own food. That is a lot of what's going on here. That's what's motivating me to keep on going, even if this is a very slow and somewhat tedious process. So I say all this to say that this food mill that I'm using right now is something I bought from someone off of Facebook Marketplace, as well as the water bath canner that I'm using. I got both of those secondhand, and I'm really proud of those purchases, that I was able to keep money in my community and buy a product that already existed rather than going out to buy something new.
Try a different road though it's been fading in your mind cause of time. Now I long for another day where things fall into place. So if you're down, I'll be down. Pack your bags, fill them up. We can go to
So after all of that work, I now have 3 jars of home canned marinara sauce, which is super delicious, and I love to use it in pastas and also things like pizza when I make homemade pizza. If you enjoyed today's video and you like seeing things about making things from scratch, growing your own food, doing things in a more sustainable way, then I encourage you to stick around a bit. I have another video up on my channel where I just recently did some fall garden cleanup and planting and starting my winter garden. You can watch that one next. That might be really fun. As well as if you're thinking about your 2025 garden, now might be a great time to get some seeds. I purchased the majority of my seeds from Botanical Interest through Epic Gardening, and I do have a link that you can use to get an extra 5% off. They are in the middle of a Black Friday sale now. That goes from now until December 2nd, so if you wanted to pick up any garden supplies for your 2025 garden, seeds, seed starting supplies, even new raised beds, their raised beds are beautiful and I aspire to have one in my garden someday. Now is the time to grab all of those things that you might need for your 2025 garden. And let me know in the comments, did you try to do any food preservation projects with things that you grew this year? Was it successful or not? And would you do it again? Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.